Hey, hope all is going well. And It's almost June. By the time you see this, it is going to be June. Yeah, let's finish strong. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. Again, the website has all the information that you need. If you get confused with Google Classroom, it has all the remote learning videos and stuff, and what's assigned and when it's due. Um, Also, I put down when I'm going to do my weekly Google Meet. I haven't put it in yet because there's some meetings going on that I have to figure out first. And I update X2. I've been updating it because I had to transfer it all over to real numbers, and I usually don't update X2 until Sunday. And it takes me quite a few hours to transfer the grades from Google Classroom to X2. So by Monday, it's you can look at it and it's pretty accurate. All right, this is going to be a special lesson. It was the Obama administration had a really good historian that wanted to get information out to teachers about what the job of the president was. He made these series of inside the White House clips. They're like 4 minutes long. They tell you so much. So I have 5 of them, and they're each 4 minutes long. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer video between me talking in between and 5 4-minute videos. That's 20 minutes already. So let's get started. There's a helicopter going by. Yeah. So this is the. Well, tell me, what side of the White House is this? I'll get my pointer. I love this pointer. Good. It is the South Portico. This is the side that faces the Washington Monument, and it's got the Truman balcony. And so this is the residence area up here. You can't really get this close. This is someone with a really good camera. This fence, you're like, I don't know, I'm not good at distance, but you're a good half-mile away from the White House at this fence. The closest you can get is the other side, the northern Portico. The magnolia trees, I had said, Andrew Jackson, that's these things here. Andrew Jackson had planted them, and they were dying. I remember seeing a report on that. They seem to be still alive. I've checked recent photos with President Trump, and they're still there. So I think they like them because they kind of give some privacy to the residents up top. And keep it, the Portico is still there. All right, let's get into this then. And this is really, it's 5 clips. It gives you some really good information about kind of what the president does, some of the stuff the president does. All right, so it's going to start with the cabinet. This is a great video. I've used this video for years in my classroom. Again, it's old. This is you're gonna see Blackberries. That's an old cell phone. These videos were made like 10 years ago. So we're going to start with the cabinet. We're going to do the situation room and on and on. And look for information. My questions will be on the information from the videos.
Like the good students in class.
You can tell that I tried to restart them all, but it picks up where I was. It's being really not fair. All right, that's not one of the videos that I wanted to show you. And that's fantastic. So, yeah, I'll start. I'll cut this out probably. Let's see if I can cut it out.
Like the good students in it was fascinating. The Great Wall was very cool.
I was going to say that.
One of the things I'm most proud of is the cabinet we've assembled. I mean, you've got extraordinarily talented people in each of these fields. A lot of them are doing such a good job that they don't meet with me much because they're like the good students in class. They are just handling their business really well. Well, hello, everybody. It is good to see you guys.
We try to do a cabinet meeting every 2 months. The meetings run about an hour and a half. What we'll do is talk to a lot of different folks within the White House the policy folks, the chief of staff's office, the communications office, and find out what are the important initiatives that we want to talk to the cabinet about, and also talk to the cabinet as well about the issues that they think are important to discuss with the president. So there's a series of internal meetings to discuss that. We hammer out an agenda after that.
Iraq, Afghanistan, the Asia trip, jobs. I think that there should probably be robust discussion on job creation.
This is a huge kind of 6-7 weeks that's coming up, and a lot of the budget and obviously the board decision and a bunch of other things that are coming down the pike. So
each president has the discretion to decide who's in this cabinet. There are the heads of the 15 executive departments who are always in the cabinet. These are the people who are in the line of succession after the president and vice president. And then there are a number of folks who have cabinet rank. In our administration, that would be the head of OMB, EPA, the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, the U.S. Trade Representative, and the ambassador to the United Nations.
We haven't had coffee service in the past. Maybe because it's an afternoon meeting, they want to give them a little caffeine. I'm not sure.
Post-its or something to label our. Oh, yeah, that's right. I got to try to figure out. Are they? Oh, hey,
They're the post-its.
I've worked for the president since he was in the U.S. Senate, so I'm very used to sitting behind him at meetings. But to now sit in a cabinet meeting, in the historic cabinet room, you're just surrounded by the history of this institution. It's humbling.
Cabinet offices were created as soon as the Constitution was ratified and the government was established in 1789 under the new Constitution.
The first cabinet meeting, I understand, from 1793, the president had his 4 cabinet members there. We now have 25 people around the table. Each of the cabinet members sit in a certain seat depending on when their department was created.
It's still tradition that a cabinet officer have the opportunity of taking the chair away, himself or herself, to buy the chair from the government. It's one of those great souvenirs of being a cabinet officer.
The cabinet meeting is one of the few times that I'm aware of where the Secret Service allows the entire cabinet to be in one place at one time. As you know, during State of the Union addresses, we typically ask one member of the cabinet to sit out. These are closed sessions, and the president really welcomes frank, unvarnished advice from the advisors.
I want to, number one, make sure that they know that they have my ear. The second thing is to reinforce a real strong sense of camaraderie that the cabinet members have built among themselves.
What's going on? When I hug him, it means a lot more than sending him an email.
There still is something to the human interaction that you only get from in-person meetings.
Well, I don't think there's any substitute for the entire cabinet coming together. These cabinet meetings are an incredible way for everybody to communicate, for everyone to really understand what the issues are, and to help us all get on the same page so that we can advance the president's priorities.
Today, we're going to be focusing a lot on jobs because obviously with the economy is in such a hole, one of the things that we want to make sure of is that we leave no stone unturned when it comes to helping people get jobs.
What we've typically done is bring the president at the end of the meeting. The cabinet meeting is an important symbol of government at work.
The primary focus of our discussion today, though, had to do with the same thing that Americans sitting across kitchen tables all across the country are focused on, and that is jobs and the economy.
you would think that in a world like the one we're living in, where you can communicate with anybody in the world at literally a flick of a mouse, or some other picking up a cell phone, that you wouldn't need a lot of face-to-face meetings. But in fact, I think that it's not only as important as it always was in the era before instantaneous communication, but to some extent even more so that people can look each other in the eye, they can watch the body language, and they can work together to get to the resolution of whatever the issue is. So these cabinet meetings give everybody a chance to do that.
This is one of the biggest problems, that people walk out of here without their BlackBerries. So now I have to actually go find out.
So Donald Trump has a lot more cabinet meetings. He said that they only have one every 2 months. Donald Trump has one every couple of weeks. So that's just his style, and different presidents do it different ways. Remember, the whole idea of the cabinet meeting came from George Washington, and that's how he ran his army. He would meet with his generals every morning and listen and then give command. And that's kind of what the president does. All right, here's the Situation Room. This was really redone, and it's good information in here about how this thing works. Let's hope it doesn't.
Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister. It'll be one moment for President Obama. Introducing the Prime Minister.
We're here in the West Wing of the White House, inside the White House Situation Room. We host about 25 conferences a day here in the Situation Room, and some 250 guests attending the different meetings throughout the day. In a month, that's over 5,000 visitors and attendees to the different meetings that we have here. It's a state-of-the-art facility, the ability to conduct video teleconferences with 17 or 1,800 entities throughout the world.
This is an interagency meeting on H1N1 pandemic, and so it has interagency representatives from the executive branch, departments and agencies. They have the technology here and the capability to bring in other departments and agencies electronically as opposed to having folks face-to-face.
The White House Situation Room was created in May of 1961 by the then National Security Advisor, McGeorge Bundy. They had a voracious appetite for information, particularly President Kennedy. And in response to that need, they felt the desire to create a communications center here within the White House. In 2007, the White House Situation Room underwent a major renovation, which greatly expanded the square footage and the capabilities of the White House Situation Room. We went from one principal conference room to 3 principal conference rooms. This is the large conference room where the President holds the National Security Council meetings. This is the President's chair. He controls the video options, including the microphones. And the traditional lineup of seats is based on the seniority of the different cabinet members attending the meeting. Tied to the executive conference room is a small breakout room designed to enable the President to take 1 or 2 people into a conference room to have a small one-on-one session with them. And all of the feel that you see here, the types of wood, are designed to replicate the other entities at which the President would participate. Places like Air Force One and Camp David, so that wherever the President is, the feel is the same, having the same texture and sound around him. One of the cool features of this particular room in the White House Situation Room is the opportunity to provide privacy for the President if he's making a head of state phone call from the Situation Room itself. And what we'll do is we'll be able to fog the windows to give him that level of privacy. So throughout the White House Situation Room, you have a number of phone tubes, or we call them Superman tubes, with the capability to have unclassified telephones as well as top secret telephone capability. This is the watch floor of the White House Situation Room, and the watch floor's commodity is situational awareness. We're a fusion center, meaning that we fuse approximately 2,000 pieces of information every day. We produce 3 daily reports directly for the President, and it's basically a situational awareness update, perhaps since the last time the President had an opportunity to assimilate any additional information. The room that you see behind me is called the Surge Room, and that's where we literally surge personnel in a crisis. We keep the phones and the computers always on so that we can provide instant access and start fusing information to provide a summary for the decision makers in the White House so that they can make the decisions in response to that situation or crisis, and hence the clever name, Situation Room. 1/3 of the personnel come from the intelligence community, 1/3 come from the Department of Homeland Security, and the remainder come from the U.S. military. We are sent here because we're apolitical. We're not Democrats. We're not Republicans. We're here to support our nation and the President of the United States and the institution of the presidency. And all of the people who work in the White House Situation Room are simply the best and the brightest that this nation can offer, and they do the very best job that they can do.
So that's kind of cool. And even though that's an old video, it's what happens today. And good. This next is the Marines entry. This is kind of interesting. In the Medal of Honor. I don't know why it jumps like that.
We're White House NCOs, White House sentries, and our main post is staying outside of the West Wing lobby to represent the president whenever he's in the West Wing working. There's 4 of us here. We work 30-minute shifts, 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. Whenever the president gets in, we post as soon as he's in the Oval Office. As soon as he's in the West Wing, we'll post. And we'll be here till the president's done for the day. My name is Cole James Applewhite. I've been at the White House for just a couple months now. I'm the rookie. That's correct. The way it works is basically whenever the president's in the West Wing, we're going to get on post. And we'll open the door when people come in and when people leave. And obviously you don't have eyes in the back of your head. So when people leave, the Secret Service officer will be sitting here, and one buzzer represents a person coming out. You hear that? Mm-hmm. One buzz. If the president leaves the West Wing for anything, we'll come inside and stand by inside for however long. And there's going to be 3 buzzes. Just 3 buzzes. Open it, just come on. No big deal. The White House post is one of those posts they tell you about, but no one ever expects to come here. It's very selective. There's only 4 Marines in the entire Marine Corps that get to do it. So I was pretty lucky to get the position. My first morning in the White House, it was kind of like a dream. You walk in, the Secret Service lets you through. You feel like a VIP. A little nervous, but more just an overwhelming sense of curiosity of everything around me. I mean, there's so much history jam-packed into this small area that it just overwhelms you. Left face. We're both facing this way. It's almost you want to pinch yourself when you're walking in through the Rose Garden and you see the president sitting at his desk working, and you see people you see every single day on news, and you're opening the door for them all of a sudden within a foot away from them. Almost surreal, and it's still pretty neat coming into work, pinching yourself sometimes. Right over here, usually I have half a dozen cameras set up over there, and they're filming constantly, so that's good motivation to stay still, not twitch. Basically, I got here and they said, there's no talking, no smiling, no laughing on post, so that's all there is to it. So if you get an inch on the nose, just suck it up. It's hard sometimes, but if any Marine went to Parris Island, they can learn not to scratch for a few minutes, so it's okay. 2 Christmases ago, Bias was out here, and during Christmas time, they'll set up 2 huge Christmas trees out here. And it was blowing around. This Christmas tree fell over. And Bias had good composure, good bearing. It didn't move at all. It's on YouTube somewhere. So you never know where your face is going to end up on TV. So it's good motivation to represent yourself well, represent the Marine Corps, and represent the president. My friends give me a little bit of grief for being a doorman over here, but I tell them at least I'm the president's doorman. I got the best doorman credentials in the world. I can go work at Waldorf after this, I guess, if I wanted to. What I tell them is, okay, how many times a day do you get to see the vice president or the president of the United States or any of the dignitaries? It's just a really honorable position to be in.
Kind of cool. Half-hour shifts. Interesting, I think. Here's the Medal of Honor. This is a cool video. I think they're all cool. Have to wait for the jump.
The Medal of Honor is awarded for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against the enemy at the risk of one's own life above and beyond the call of duty. Had anyone done what this person did, he or she wouldn't expect to live through it.
Someone close to the event with personal knowledge of what the individual did is who ends up initiating the award recommendation. The review process starts when the first commander looks at that recommendation to say, hey, did this meet the criteria for the Medal of Honor?
What I've learned in being involved with Medal of Honor ceremonies is these aren't always positive news for the individual. Many times they're actually reliving the worst day of their life. And you know that inside it's a little bit rough for them to make it through the day. Tomorrow is going to be the Medal of Honor ceremony for Corporal William Kyle Carpenter. We've been prepping for the last couple of months. After his package got sent to the White House and approved, the President made the phone call to him.
It's my pleasure to let you know that based on the recommendations of the Secretary of the Navy and Secretary of Defense, I've approved the award of the Medal of Honor to you for your courageous actions in Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom.
We are going to receive him on East Executive Avenue about a half an hour prior to the gates opening for the general audience. He will be arriving along with his immediate family. We'll go up into the East Room. He'll actually get to see where the medal is going to be presented. We go through it while it's quiet so that he's comfortable during the medal presentation to know what he needs to do during the ceremony. A little bit later, he will meet with the President and the First Lady in the Oval Office. What's interesting about that is that's where the President will actually sign the citation and the certificate in front of him. Then they will come over. They all come up into the Blue Room area. We escort the immediate family into the East Room, and then we're ready for the ceremony to start. We have the Naval aide is going to read the citation, and we have the Marine Corps aide is actually going to hold the medal during the reading of the citation. At its conclusion, the President will take the medal from the mill aide and then place it around Corporal Carpenter's neck. And a unique thing that we kind of do after Medal of Honor ceremonies is teammates, the individuals that were actually in battle with him. We will pull them in for a brief greet with the President and First Lady.
I served in the Marine Corps myself, and I'm enthralled by the stories themselves. It is amazing the kinds of things that people will do in the most dangerous situations where no human would be expected to put themselves at that kind of risk.
The man you see before you today should not be alive today. Hand grenades are one of the most awful weapons of war. But we are here because this man, this United States Marine, faced down that terrible explosive power, that unforgiving force, with his own body.
In the case of Carpenter, jumping on a grenade, the wounds that were sustained by Corporal Carpenter, it's amazing that he has recovered to the point that he has. I mean, that in itself is just an amazing story.
This isn't changing us, just good old family from middle of nowhere, South Carolina. So, we're still seeing people. Obviously, the spotlight is on us right now and will be for a while. But when it all comes down to it, I raised my right hand and I went over there knowing the risk. And, I'm proud of what I did, but that doesn't define me. I'm more proud of just being a Marine. I wanted to be a Marine first while I could and while I had the opportunity and while my body would allow it. So I did that, and now it's just looking forward, and I'm going to just try to impact the world and the people around me in the most positive way I can and try to be a good person and do good things.
So cool. I have a book in my room of the Medal of Honor recipients. It's just their story, and it's just a bunch of them, and they're all book worthy. They're all incredible stories. Oh, I just hit done. Stop it. All right, this is the last one. This is the State of the Union. It does a nice job of explaining the State of the Union, and I would have done this with you and walked you through it and shown clips from States of the Union and stuff. But this tells you the whole history behind it, starting with Woodrow Wilson. Remember, Thomas Jefferson was so soft-spoken, he started just sending a letter, and it wasn't to Woodrow Wilson was a really good public speaker that wanted to deliver it. And since Woodrow Wilson, which is like 1912, the presidents have done this once a year in January, February. So it's a good video. They're all good. You know me. This is the jump. Right, is it going to jump? It didn't jump.
The State of the Union demonstrates, I think, at a really fundamental level that as much as the country changes, a lot of the processes that were set in place by the Constitution persist until this day.
The formal process of actually delivering the State of the Union, I guess, really begins when the Speaker of the House formally invites the President, sends a letter to the White House, inviting the President to deliver a State of the Union in the House.
I'm honored to invite you to offer an address on the State of the Union on January 25th, 2011, before a joint session of Congress. Thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to your response. Sincerely, John Boehner.
The State of the Union is a different kind of speech because it is sort of an all-encompassing speech that across the sweep of what you're doing, and it makes it a very complicated speech to write.
As he finishes extra pages, and I'll just walk over. I just got back to my desk, so it looks like line edits, and he wrote an insert here and there, some extra stuff. Yeah, it looks good. After we got back from Thanksgiving, we just started a whole bunch of policy meetings that involved just about everyone, every department, every agency in the White House. Years ago, speechwriters and presidents probably had it a little easier because all you had to do was deliver a written version of the State of the Union to Congress.
And the person who came along and changed that was Woodrow Wilson in 1913. And this was really a bit of a shock to Congress at the time because they were so used to receiving the annual message in written form. It changes in the 20th century largely because of technology. Television comes along and really over the course of a couple decades revolutionizes the State of the Union. And that's when the address really garners a wide public attention.
George W. The State of the Union is the one time that the president gets to speak to the entire country and the Congress and report on where we are as a country and where he believes we have to go. What invariably happens, and it's going to happen now, is he reads through several drafts. He's done that already. And then at some point he takes the speech and he puts his own imprint on it. And I think Fabro and everybody else would tell you that the president is the best speechwriter in this building and probably in any building you'd walk into.
Usually the way it's worked is I'll write a little, I'll send it to the president, he'll write, he'll send it back to me, and then we'll just go back and forth with each other, for pretty much the entire month of January.
He drives all of us and himself very, very hard to get it to where he thinks it ought to be. And, he treats the process with tremendous respect and just huge creativity. It's a lot of fun.
We have all 551 members of Congress, all the representatives, 435, 5 delegates, a resident commissioner, and then the 100 senators. Cabinet members, the Supreme Court justices, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And in the galleries, there's probably about another 750 people who sit up in the galleries to watch the speech. It's a full chamber.
Our Constitution declares that from time to time, the President shall give to Congress information about the state of our youth. For 220 years, our leaders have fulfilled this duty. The spirit that has sustained this nation for more than 2 centuries lives on in you, its people. Let's seize this moment to start anew, to carry the dream forward, and to strengthen our union once more.
So that's the State of the Union, and that's all I'm doing today. It's kind of cool. I like that. You might not have liked it as much. Hope you guys are not driving your parents crazy. You got a little more to go, and then this 8th grade year is over, and let's hope that your freshman year in high school is a lot better. But make sure you're taking care of yourself, taking care of your family. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Have a fun educational afternoon.
Thank you.